Good evening, everybody. It is Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific, and it's Chats for Change. I'm G. Brian Benson, and hope you're all having a good week. I have a really special guest. Every guest is special, but I have a good buddy on tonight with us who's going to really open up and share some of his journey, and we're going to discuss addiction in all of its many different forms. And I know that we're all probably affected by it one way or another, whether it's just something that kind of keeps us from really living within ourselves, or it's a family member that, or witnessing, going through something, what have you. But my guest, Dennis Berry, is a motivational speaker. He's a best-selling author. He's the host of the Funky Brain podcast, which I've had the pleasure of being a guest on. And that's how we met. And he's a life coach. And welcome, buddy. How you doing?
I'm doing awesome, man. I'm really happy to be here and happy to be with you. It's just we always have such great chats. You're so sincere, genuine, honest, open, and I love those things. And
thank you.
Always happy to talk with people like that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And so are you.
Thanks.
So, gosh, addiction. Wow. Like I said, I think it affects all of us in so many different ways, right? And I know that you've been affected by it. It was alcohol, right?
Right. So everything, alcohol, drugs. I always say whiskey and cocaine was my game. And
you a rock star? You're a musician?
Yeah, I was a rock star. Yeah, the rock star, skier, party, chef, like just crazy maniac all through my 20s. But one thing you said that was really interesting is everybody is affected by this somehow. And whenever I say something like I'm a life coach for addiction recovery, oh, my brother, oh, maybe you could talk to my father or my neighbor or my cousin's friend's uncle's roommate. Like, everybody knows somebody. It's such a worldwide thing that everybody's affected by on some level.
Yeah, my brother, who is my biggest inspiration, struggled with meth for a long time, and he's been clean for about 6 years now. And he really he just inspires me. He's got the biggest heart, and having to go through and watch him struggle, and which in turn, caused struggle in our family as well. It was tough, just not only because, you're watching someone just hurt as they go through it. I mean, truly hurt, and you hurt for them. But just all the peripheral damage that it does too, and it's, I'm not knocking him at all for that. I mean, it's, we all love him, and it's just amazing to see what he's doing now. But, there's growing and learning going on for everybody, and pain.
Yeah, and the pain is where the growth and learning comes from, right? That awareness. We always say pain is the touchstone for spiritual growth. That I wish it would be really cool if we could just say, oh, I get that. I understand that part of life now, but I usually have to suffer at some level before I'm willing to see things differently. And then once I do, then I'm like, oh, well, why did I have to go through all that pain for 10 years? Why couldn't I just get that? But that just seems to be the way things work out. And
if it was easy, we wouldn't really be paying attention, right? I mean, it's like we have to get knocked down a little bit before we really kind of say, this sucks. How can I make it better?
Right. Well, if you have a bunch of money in your bank account, the relationships are going well, you're healthy and strong, you have a great job, and everything's going well, you don't need to learn anything. Everything's right. So it's usually where I'm suffering on some level, like body, mind, and spirit. If one of those is off, or I need more money, or the relationship is messed up, or I have some health problems now, or something like that, then you're like, whoa, and it forces you to step back for a second and look at things and be like, oh, all right, I need to learn something new. How am I going to get through this? And the sad part about addiction is that we don't get through it. Right. So something hard comes up in life. Things aren't going well the way I want them to. Usually finance and romance. That's what we say. Those are the two big ones. So if one of those are off, now all of a sudden I'm struggling. And now I have to look at what's going on and process it. Now, the normal person who doesn't have an addiction you know, these problems, they come in, they face the challenges, they feel it. They feel the pain, the fear, the sadness, anxiety, whatever it is. They process it, they find a way through it, and it kind of just goes out the other side. With addiction, the pain, the heartache, the insecurities, the fear, all that stuff comes in.
Unworthiness.
And instead of processing it and letting it come out the other side, I just feel it and it just is overwhelming. So I'll drink or I'll smoke or I'll do drugs or I'll start watching porn or I'll eat too much cake or whatever it is. And all of a sudden, that pain is swirling around in my head and I'm not growing. And that's the problem with addiction, is that it really, you know what I say all the time with my clients, it's like, you know, the drugs and alcohol aren't the problem. The problem is my thinking. The drugs and alcohol are what I use to cope with my thinking. So I need to learn new healthy coping skills in order to process these feelings, feel them all the way through, and grow up, look the world in the eye, live an honest, happy life.
Mm. Absolutely. I suppose anything that we do that kind of helps us avoid, right? I mean, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. And, you know, and these behaviors, they're ingrained in us, you know, in childhood. You know, from the ages of 0 to 18, we're learning these types of behaviors, these fears. We're absorbing everything, and we take it in as normal. We don't know that this isn't the best way to deal with this problem. We just take it in as normal, and then it becomes our behavior. Our subconscious mind is running our body, and we don't know. And then all of a sudden, we're 18, 19 years old. We leave home, if we leave home at that point, and we carry that behavior through. We never learned how to cope in a healthy way. And something our parents did along the way, maybe they were in a codependent relationship or something was unhealthy, and we carry that through. We end up with those types of people in our lives too. And then maybe we pick up some passive aggressive behavior or other addictions or something. We don't even realize it, and we just go out and live that way. So we need to reprogram our minds, and it's hard to recognize that behavior until you go through some pain.
Yeah. When you were drinking and doing drugs and stuff like that, kind of in the middle of your addiction, how did that affect your family?
Yeah, so, you know, I started doing that, you know, go all the way back to when I was a kid, like just what I was talking about. I was 5 years old, and my grandmother told my mother, she said, he worries like a little old man. You know, at 5 years old, I already had that deep fear, insecurity, that pain of living, and I didn't know how to cope with that. And now you fast forward to I was 15 years old, and I take a drink, and I'm like, like there was that relief that I was looking for that I didn't know how to get any other way. And so I kind of just latched onto that, and I never grew up from that point. And now all of a sudden, you fast forward 15 years from that, I'm 31 years old, with the brain of a 15-year-old, a scared little fearful 15-year-old. And I don't know how to get through. So I stopped drinking. I stopped doing drugs after 15, 16 years of pain and arrests and DUIs and crashing my car into houses and things that don't move and just causing destruction in my life, my family, my finances, my health. I was 60 pounds heavier than I am now, with dark circles under my eyes and just miserable with no way out. And so I had to find a new way to live. And yes, because I did not go out and start a family. I wasn't around families. I'm an old skier, so I used to live in mountain towns, and I bounced around.
You kind of did all that in isolated, kind of somewhat.
I did, yeah. I knew I was messed up. I didn't have credit cards. I wasn't around kids. I wasn't around families because I knew I was messed up, and it was just better that I stay away. And then what happened was in around 1999, 2000, I came out of the mountains and into suburbia, and then I had to learn how to live all over, and that's really hard. And I got in a lot more trouble. I blew through tons of money, and at the end I was just sick, and I couldn't drink anymore, and I couldn't not drink anymore. And I was snorting cocaine and taking hallucinogenic drugs by myself and smoking cigarettes, and it was just crazy. And so I reached that place they call the rock bottom, you know, and we call it the gift of desperation, where I was desperate enough to look at the world a different way and say, all right. And in my book, I talk about this. How do I get sober and clean? How do I recover? How do I have successful relationships? How do I live a healthy lifestyle? And the answer is how. It stands for honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness. So when I'm in enough pain, I'm honestly willing to say, all right, I can't do this anymore. I'm dying. I'm actually dying. And then, I'm open to listening to different ways of living. And then W is willingness. I'm willing to apply those things into my life so I can live differently. So I go into depth in that in my book and with clients that I coach as well.
Wow. Did you do the 12-step thing initially, or did you just kind of do it a different way, or?
No, I did. I went to a rehab facility. I was there for 30 days, and that was kind of the route that they took. It was education on AA and the 12-step program, and I'm grateful for it. It really it saved my life. I mean, there was like I had no other way to go, so I had to latch on and listen to anything that can help give me direction and guidance. And the other great thing about AA is the companionship, right? It's the fellowship. I didn't have to sit home alone, scared to death, with holding on to a blanket over my head to try to just scrape through another day.
Yeah.
You're around other people that understand. And that's why my coaching business is successful, is because, sometimes people will go out and they'll find religion, or they'll become Christians, or whatever religion. And that's great. And you should do that if you feel moved to do that. But what I found is that when you go to church, those people, they'll love you and they'll hug you, and they're mostly good people too, and they're there for you. But those people don't know what it's like to drink a gallon of whiskey until you throw up, and then pass out and drive your car into a house, wake up in the morning crying and say, I'm never doing this again, and then start drinking again. So when I sit with somebody that tells me their horror stories, the things that they've done, I could sit there and go, I understand. I've been there too. And here's how I got out, and this is how I'm going to help you.
Wow. Yeah.
It's a destructive disease. And the really sad part about it is that addiction is, and I can go into it on so many different levels, including codependency being the biggest addiction. But the sad part about like the physical addictions, like the alcohol and the drugs, it's like it's a two-part addiction, right? So it's that physical part that says, if I have a drink, I want more drink. If I have cocaine, I want more. I want more and more of everything. So there's that part. I need to remove that physical part. And then there's that mental obsession that I have to do anything to get it as well. And I can't get through my problems, my fears, my insecurities, my heartache without it. And so I'm going to do anything to go get it. So it's a two-part disease that we need to address. And it takes time. We say you only have to change one thing, and that's everything. And people aren't equipped to do that by themselves. I think it's so important to have a mentor or coach, an accountability partner, a counselor, a therapist to help you through it, because doing it on your own is almost always going to result in failure.
I mean, it's just in a different way. I mean, you're changing everything, your routine, probably the people you're hanging around, you name it. I mean, we've all tried to like maybe lose a little weight here and there, probably, right? And that's hard enough as it is, just changing that little habit is what we put into our mouth, and it, ultimately it starts coming down to awareness on how it makes us feel in that regard, and then just getting used to that. But yeah, gosh, there's so many different ways that people look for that relief, whether it's drugs and alcohol. I mean, gambling.
Shopping. And well, you said a big one. Yeah, and food is a huge one, because you know what? It's like if I'm overwhelmed and I want sugar, it's legal. Like I don't have to go down to an inner city street corner to buy chocolate cake. I can go to King Soopers or wherever your store is and buy a chocolate cake for $4 and sit there and wallow in my pity and eat that whole thing and wake up with regret. And no
matter what you do, you're gonna start beating yourself up more than likely. I mean, when I lived in Reno, when I was near my son while he was in high school, for 4 years, I get lonely and bored, and I would go throw some money in the slot machines. Not a lot, but enough sometimes. $100 or something. And then I would lose, and then I'd feel like an idiot. And then I'd leave, and and I'd come and do it again a month later or whatever. But I wasn't able to just do it. I don't know, just from a place of giving myself permission to do it. You know what I mean? It's one. It wasn't like I was throwing everything away, but yet still, I get it. It just, there's a lot of guilt there.
A lot of guilt. It's what's funny. This is interesting. It was right when I was about 21, and I went to Atlantic City with my family, and we were sitting there. And I'm so grateful that I saw this, because with my addictive personality, I don't know which direction I would have gone, but I never got into gambling. And I attribute it to this incident. Was when I was 21 years old, and I was sitting there at a table, and these tables are like, $20 tables, and it's a lot of money. And those casinos are set up so you don't think of it as $20. It's a chip, So, but this woman came in, and you could tell she was a low income worker. She came in and she cashed her weekly paycheck at the blackjack table and lost it all on one hand. And I remember going, oh my God, like she probably had kids, and she probably had bills and food to buy, and she spent that whole thing. But that's the mind of an addict. But I'm grateful that I saw that, because with my addictive personality, I could see myself going, oh my God, I need to go get another 8-ball, or I need to go to the bar and talk to people. And maybe if I go gamble a little, or put some money on this game, or make this bet, maybe I can make a couple $100 to go out. And then all of a sudden you're in a deep hole. And I know a lot of people that have been in that hole, but I'm grateful I saw that incident.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And in some weird ways, how do I say this? You almost go into something like that knowing you're going to lose, or, and then just for a split second, you can tell yourself you were right. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? You just like, in a sick way, it's a form of validation, but the wrong kind of validation.
Totally the wrong kind. Yeah. I mean, we need to reprogram a lot of things in our life, because that behavior, and there's a difference. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not mad at alcohol. Alcohol is great. You know what it does? It does what it's supposed to do. It's a release from care, boredom, worry. And, for people that don't have that addictive personality, and I know a lot of those people, and, they're like, oh, I had a hard day at work, and they'll pour a glass of wine, and they'll just kind of escape for a little while. There's nothing wrong with that. If that's your lifestyle, carry on. It exists for a reason. I'm an old chef. I used to sip wine and taste different wines from different vintages and stuff like that. And that's great. My problem is, like, I'm going to sip on a glass of wine, and then I'm going to go drink 4 bottles, and then go buy an 8-ball, smoke a pack of cigarettes, maybe 2 packs, and then I'm going to buy a pint of Jack too. And then I'm going to drive around and get in trouble. So, the same thing with like chocolate cake. There's nothing wrong with chocolate cake. None of these things are problems. The problem is always excess, right? The problem is that I'm not feeling my feelings. I'm hiding them. I'm hiding from my feelings. And because I don't know another way, my subconscious mind is telling me I need to escape from this because I'm overwhelmed. And that escape turns into a day or a week, and it starts affecting your life. And all of a sudden your relationships and your health and your whole body, mind, and spirit is broken, and you have to dig out of that. So it's a problem.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, we were talking beforehand about feeling our feelings, and that's something I've really consciously worked on. I mean, more so recently. There's a part of me that would, I'm pretty even keel most of the time. This is kind of my personality, but yet I know I stuff some stuff away for sure.
Yeah, we all do. I mean, none of us does this 100% of the time. These are all ideals that we try to get to.
But I'm really I've gotten to the point where, like, I'm daily, even though I'm not necessarily like thinking I need to like honor a feeling that's coming through, I'll just check in and say, all right, what are you thinking? What are your feelings right now? What are your emotions? and I'll go over a little checklist for like maybe 30 seconds, and I'll get the gamut of, like, I'm a little nervous about finances this next month, or, just honor everything. It's almost like, if we write it down, it gets it out of our system, and I think it's healthy. So if we can either write it down or just do a little mental checklist, twice a day, I think it's really healthy. I mean, it's so important.
It is. Writing is a huge part of my therapy, a huge part of my practice. The way that I train people is because, the average person has about 60 to 80,000 thoughts every single day.
Yeah.
So that's about one thought per second. So if you were to think about, if I had 80,000 productive thoughts every day, how awesome would that be? But think about how many of those 80,000 thoughts do you think are productive and healthy? I would say
only about 10%.
Oh, 10 is definitely on the high end. I'm saying like 2, 3, 5%, something like that. So, the idea of writing, well, first of all, meditating, such a powerful tool. And these are the tools you put in your toolbox when I'm overwhelmed and I want to have a drink or smoke some pot or watch some porn or eat some cake or whatever it is that I want to do. If I can calm my mind down just for a little bit, even if I could do it for 3 to 5 minutes or 10 minutes, and if I can eliminate some of those, like 10,000 of those ridiculous thoughts that are going through my head, think about how much more productive and healthy and happy you will be. And then you nailed it. Writing is such a powerful tool. It slows everything down, because I can think of 100 things before I write one sentence.
Yeah.
So it slows everything down. It puts it right in front of you, and it tells you the truth. It tells you what's going on. So it's such a powerful tool.
Yeah, and in some ways, I think it kind of eliminates some of the anxiety and the weight that we're carrying when they're in our head.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like when I write stuff down, and I've been going through some tough times recently, and I have a coach too that I work with. My coach, my mentor, and everybody should. There's nothing wrong with that. We all need an accountability partner, and somebody, not necessarily because they're better or smarter or stronger or whatever than us. It's just because they're not emotionally attached to the situation. So if I go to my mentor and say, this is what's going on, and he's over here, and he's not attached to that situation as much as I am, and he could say, you know what, here's what I see from here, and I could be like, whoa, that's what's going on, not what I'm swirling around in my head. And it takes so much of the power out, and I just write. He goes, write that down. And I've been able to process more in the last couple of weeks than I have in a couple of years, and I feel great.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't have to drink anything. I didn't have to hide anything. I've been feeling, I've been dealing with some heartache, to be honest with you, on the show here, and I've been feeling it all. I've been crying every tear when it comes up. I've been feeling every emotion that comes in. If anger comes up, or blame, or guilt, or shame, I feel it all, and I'm just processing all of it. And when I process it, it takes almost all the power out of it. So much better. Yes.
No, that's the key. It takes the power out of it, and good for you. So, how long have you been sober now?
I've been sober since April 8th of 2003, so 17 years right now.
Well, congratulations. So what, other than maybe writing and really consciously being aware of what's coming up through you, what are some other tools that you've implemented into your life since then that help you?
Yeah, and great question. I mean, and it's different for everybody. For me, well, first of all, meditation, like I said. And, in my book, I go through a 6-step process that I created, which comes, on a high level from the 12 steps, because I think the 12-step program, it's very profound. It's it's a brilliant program, but it was written 80 years ago and needs a little update, but it's still a very powerful program. It gets you to a place of growing and learning and developing a spiritual lifestyle. So what I did in my book was I took those 12 steps. I created this 6-step program that anybody could do every day if you want, and it's about, first I have to admit there's a problem, right? And this is how I live my life now. which is why I wrote this book. It's like, I have to admit there's a problem. You can't solve a problem you can't admit exists, right? You just can't do it.
Yeah.
And so second, I need to calm down, right? That's the next thing, because again, I have those 80,000 thoughts running through my head. And if I try to solve anything while that's going on, it's not going to be effective. So meditation is a key component in my life. And then the next step is spirituality. It's connecting with this, whatever it is that you can connect with, that you don't have to feel that loneliness, that pain, that aloneness in that dark spot. And it's great. You know, a lot of people think spirituality is like a sign of weakness, but it's a sign of strength. When you can turn your problems, your cares, your worries, your fears over to something bigger than you, that's all that it means. If you have a problem with religion, don't go that way. If you don't have a problem with religion, go that way. Whatever, just find something bigger than you. And then I dive into, and this is where the writing comes back in. It's like, you know, going back into your past to recognize the behavior. Because again, drinking and drugging or eating, it's not my problem. It's what I'm doing to hide my problem, to cope with my problem. It's my thinking that's my problem. So I need to go back and find the causes and conditions. Why am I behaving like that?
Were you able to identify maybe what triggered that initially when you were little? I mean, or where that maybe came from? I mean, if I might ask.
No, I mean, like that, it was so many different things. That's what I said. Like when I started, when I was 5 years old, I had that fear, that worry, that insecurity, and no way to handle it. And nobody taught me how to. You know, if you go back into your childhood, and a lot of people aren't willing to do this stuff. And that's where that how approach comes into it. But when you look at your childhood, I went back and, you know, I've talked with my parents about this, so it's okay to talk about this on in front of the whole world. But, you know, my parents got divorced when I was 7 years old. So back then there wasn't shared custody. I only saw my dad a couple times a month. And so I didn't have a man around to teach me how to be a man. So what happened, and I didn't realize this until maybe 10 years ago, is I started latching onto random men unknowingly, this was subconsciously, to teach me how to be a man, because I craved it. And I think all kids do, but I didn't know I was. The problem was I latched onto a bunch of idiots over the course of time. And so I just went in the wrong direction in so many different periods of my life, because I chose the wrong people for that direction.
Yeah.
So I think that's a lot of it. And, you know, not facing my fears or feeling my feelings. It took a long time to learn how to be the man that I am today. And it didn't come easily.
Yeah.
So my goal now and my reason for living is to help other people get to this place in their life. So if I can, you know, when I wrote my book, I didn't plan on writing a book. The reason I wrote my book was because I was just writing stuff down that was coming through my head. And all of a sudden it turned into this book. And, you know, what I said was, if I can just keep one person from killing themselves or from being depressed or not know how to get through the day at all, that's all that I want. And so I've structured my whole life around helping somebody or everybody, as many people as I can, not have to go through that pain and suffering.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. I had one more question I was going to ask you.
And of course, and another thing is really, and this is, I mean, everybody knows this thing, like I've mentioned it a few times already, but that body, mind, and spirit model. You know, we should always be working on the body, the mind, and the spirit.
Yeah.
And if you go back to Buddhism 2,500 years ago, Buddha was like, it's a duty to take care of your body so it can function as a vessel for the spirit to come through. And so if you're taking care of your body and you're doing some work on your mind, and you have somebody like a coach or a mentor to help you through these things, and then you have a spiritual connection with something. And, you know, again, it's never perfect all the time, but as long as you're making an effort,
absolutely,
your life goes better.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I'm a big believer in the body, mind, and spirit. I mean, I have to move every day. It's just really important for me, and it helps ground me. It kind of kicks open my intuitive, you know, facilities. it does so much. And meditation is huge for me too. It's, I don't know, we were talking beforehand, this last week, I'm usually really grounded, but this energy's felt kind of funky. And I've been walking like twice a day and meditating once a day just to kind of, keep my feet on the ground.
Yeah, it's so important. I've been exercising every day too. And today I went to this beautiful rock formation right by where I live.
Mm.
And I just sat there. I did 2 10-minute meditations. And I'll tell you, it's hard when you don't meditate and you start meditating. It's hard to sit still, and everybody says the same thing. I can't quiet my mind for whatever it is. But if you have a problem with it, don't start with 10 minutes. Start with 1 minute. Start with 2 or 3 minutes. Just calm down.
Absolutely. I think the key, and I was actually talking about this morning on a podcast, just to start with some ambient music with no words and just sit there in your chair with no expectation, getting rid of all the expectations, because that's when it gets hard. It's like, I'm trying to go to sleep. I'm trying to go to sleep. You can't go to sleep when you're trying, right? Yeah. So it's the same with meditation.
It is, totally. Yeah, and I say, people, pull out your phone. Everybody has one of these. Pull this out and pull up YouTube and say, type in, all right, if I have 5 minutes, say 5-minute guided meditation. And I like the beach. So I'll say 5-minute guided meditation beach, and there's like a million of them.
Yeah.
There's no excuse to not meditate.
Yeah, that's awesome. Wow.
Yeah. And then that's a good start. And then eventually you get to a place where you can sit in silence, because the silence is where the answers come. And it sounds strange when you don't do it, but it's amazing once you can get to that point.
Not only is the answers, but for me, it just calms me down so much, and it just is so, or to use the word grounding. I mean, it just all the crap goes away, all the anxiety kind of goes away, just by doing that.
Yeah, silence is a powerful tool. In fact, there was an old ancient philosopher, and I forget who it is, and I'm gonna have to look it up, and I can type it in the comments or something for you. But he said all of man's problems come from his inability to sit quietly in a room by himself. And it's such the truth, because if we can sit still and not have to worry about money or sex or whatever our health or 401k plans and
looking outside of ourselves for that happiness.
Yes, yeah. And if you can sit still for a while, then you're going to be a happier person. We live in a noisy world with lawnmowers and snow blowers and sirens, and we don't even realize how sick they make us, like our shoulders come up and stress out, and we don't even realize it until you go someplace quiet and you realize how calm you become almost immediately.
Absolutely. It helps us become a better listener too, which is important.
Yes. Yeah. Cool stuff. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Is there anything, we're getting close to the end here. Is there anything else you'd like to share? I just, for the listeners, there's a little bio there about Dennis in the notes, as well as a link to his website if you want to learn more about his book or his coaching.
Yeah, please do it and reach out. If you or somebody you love or know is struggling, please give me a call. I'm giving out 2 free sessions right now. I know people are struggling with their finances and the COVID and just the state of the world right now, and I want to be there to help. So I'm giving out 2 free full sessions if you mention this show, and we'll just talk for a while. We'll do like a consultation, and we'll just get you to a place where you understand a little bit more about what's going on and the real reasons that you're doing that behavior and why you're suffering.
Awesome. Thank you. Wow. Awesome. Thanks for joining us today, Dennis.
Thank you, man. I'm really grateful and just happy. And again, like we just talked about, if we could save one person from being depressed or upset or suicidal, or just help a parent understand their kid better, whatever it is, that's really our goal here. Absolutely.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks everybody for tuning in. As always, I appreciate you. In the notes, I've got a brand new Facebook group that I've talked about a little bit that I'm getting going, and I'm going to start putting some fun stuff in there. So you're welcome to click on the link and join, and learn more. So until next time, thank you. And just everybody, as Dennis and I have been talking about, just remember you're enough, just the way you are and what you have to work with. And you know, it took me a little while to get that, but it's so freeing. And you know, we don't need to do anything other than be ourselves. So
I love that. And, you know, I just want to close on
yeah,
top of that. One of the things that I'm really attracted to about you, Brian, is that be yourself to free yourself.
yeah.
And that's what I reached out to Brian, for those that are listening, a few months ago, and I was looking up for inspirational speakers, and he came up there, and I saw when I was checking you out, and you had that be yourself to free yourself thing, and it just really touched me. You know, because I think it's so important. A lot of our problems exist because we're not being ourselves, and then we become failures because we're trying to be something that we're not. And then come the addictions and the problems and stuff like that. So I love you. I think you're awesome. And I'm really grateful that we're friends.
Thank you, brother. Right back at you. Thank you. I appreciate you. All right. Until next time. See you later.
Bye.